moving forward, Cassidy, you've just completed a 3-year monitoring contract. So, first of all, a huge congratulations for that accomplishment and relief. And we'll get into all of the other things that you must feel as a result of that. Can you tell us go back a little bit though, and tell us what led you to have to go on a monitoring contract?
Sure. I've written some notes because I think this is going to be a pretty emotional question for me. So bear with me. But I feel that, so I was diagnosed with a substance use disorder in 2019. And it was, I feel like a lifelong journey to kind of get there. I had a pretty unstable childhood. My parents kind of split when I was really young, and we moved around a lot. I had we moved like schools, we moved houses. I was exposed to sexual and physical abuse from varying family members. And so growing up was just not stable. It was a tough one. And during that process, to me, it was normal. Like, I was just like, this is what life is. Like, this is just what everyone experiences. I didn't know what was wrong. And so I feel like that's kind of probably where I like to call it my addictive personality, kind of stemmed from. I found when I was a kid, like looking back, no matter what it was, I got really engrossed in it. Like if it was a TV show or type of food or a hobby, I just was very addictive to it. And I think I feel like that was because that was a coping mechanism for me. Looking back, like that was to get so engrossed in something, it shut everything else off. It was really looking back was the only way that I could make that hurt go away. So I tended to fall into these kind of patterns that would kind of take over my life. My dog's barking at me. He's just looking at me and barking. I'm sorry.
You can go get the dog and bring him over if you want.
Maybe I'll just open the door.
He's worried about you.
I feel like that's exactly what it is. Locked in the back, so we'll see. We'll see if they behave. So I guess one of the things that I found after going through counseling is that we all have this thing called an inner child, and my inner child is very insecure and very full of shame and has a lot of feelings of inadequacies at all times. So again, why my addictive personality kind of probably spiked up was because as a child, I didn't know how to kind of deal with any of those emotions. So I didn't really know or acknowledge any of these things until I actively sought help and took some time to do the work and find out that that's what I experienced, and that's why my path kind of went the way it went. That's by no ways to say that I'm cured and my inner child is gone, because she is still there and she always kind of bubbles up at all these inopportune times. But so a couple months prior to my diagnosis, I would say I was in a pretty kind of unstable place. I was in a pretty vulnerable relationship that I think because of my childhood and because of the moving and the kind of things that I went through, I have a trust issue problem. And so I never really opened up or talked to a lot of people. And that particular relationship made me very vulnerable. It was a very long distance relationship. And I don't think I was ever truly vulnerable kind of before that relationship. And I didn't really know how to deal with it. And it was kind of like just a very exposed and raw place to be. And so substances and kind of partying had been kind of a go-to for me for a while in this point in my life. Like I was already partying and I was already using and drinking quite as a partying thing, but it was becoming kind of more constant. And then after that, kind of, I found myself in that vulnerable place very often. I decided to make a career change and I went into the emergency program for school and decided to advance my career. And so now I was in a full-time school program where expectations got really high. acuity got really high, and my inner child was just screaming inadequacy, shame, you're not good enough. And then my relationship outside was just like, it was good. It was a healthy relationship, but it just made me feel so vulnerable. Looking back, it's hard to pinpoint, but I think those were my two catalysts. And I just started using and drinking way more frequently, to the point where I didn't know. It's funny being a healthcare professional and being exposed to addiction. I have addiction in my family. Doesn't matter how educated you are on it. When you are in the addiction, you can't see it. You're blind to it. Like it's so hard to look back and see where I was and being like, how could I not notice that? But there I was using more often than I wasn't. I was drinking more often than I wasn't, and calling in sick for work all the time. And then there was one weekend where I remember reaching out and asking somebody that I needed help. And I remember them just being like, "Oh, I don't have time right now. Like, I'll talk to you tomorrow." It was my partner at the time. It was my partner, and I just remember saying I needed to talk, and it was kind of it wasn't brushed off in any ways. Like, this is not a him thing. This was a me thing, taking it just the wrong way. And it was like, no, we can talk tomorrow. And I just remember it being a catalyst, and the inadequacies and the inner child were just not happy. Like, everything just kind of boiled down, and I just went off the edge and decided that I didn't want to live anymore. And I tried to drink and use myself. I tried to kill myself. I didn't want to live anymore. And the addictions had just brought me to that point where that was what I wanted to do. And I don't remember this weekend very well, but it's been pieced together by friends and family. I guess in a stupor, I reached out to somebody else, and they came and watched me, because my dad, my sister, and my best friend, who are like just my core group of people, were all away. So one of the other friends came and, I guess, babysat me for 24 hours. And then I guess some of my family and friends showed up. I don't really remember it, but they tried to help me. And then I guess I promised them I was going to be good. I don't remember any of this. And then they left again, and I woke up, I think 2 days later, although I was probably doing stuff, and there's glass on the ground, there's glass in my foot. There was, like, I hadn't showered in I don't know how long, and I was a mess. Like, I'd never been that way. I was just in a terrible spot. My best friend was there, and my sister was there, and I just remember laying on the ground because I couldn't do anything but want to die. And I just looked at my sister, and I was like, I need help. I need help. And so she said we figured out we would find help, and that's when I decided to go to a treatment program. Never asked for help in my life. We live in such a strong-willed society where asking for help, or where I was raised was, asking for help is kind of a weakness. You're not supposed to do it, and I feel like that habit for me needs to change. Like, asking for help is such a strong point to have as a human. So I finally did it, and I went to treatment for 6 weeks. The best thing that ever happened to me. I loved my treatment. It was a really good facility, and it was just intense therapy for 6 weeks. And good therapy. It was one-on-one sessions. It was group sessions. It was, there's awful parts of it too. It's like going to high school again. Like, there's a lot of drama as well. But I didn't realize how much I needed therapy from my childhood. And so I self-admitted myself to treatment, and I got help, and I felt so much better. And then when I was leaving treatment, the gentleman that owned the facility told me that I should go to my union and tell them what I had done.